The contents of our dreams can range widely from person to person. Some revolve around trivial things like work or school, some terrify us by making us live through our deepest fears, and in some, we watch ourselves doing things that we would otherwise never do. Though we may consider most dreams to be random thoughts, they can teach us things about ourselves that we may not consciously think about. Dreams are the realm of the unconscious mind, and can contain symbols that illustrate our personal beliefs and motifs that have been in the human psyche since our beginning. Discovering, understanding, and accepting these beliefs can help us get to know our true selves and lead to a more fulfilled life. Welcome to Symbolism in Dreams. Before we can analyze the contents of our dreams, we need to understand a little bit about the way we think. In waking life, the reality we experience is seen through the lens of our conscious mind. We use our senses to observe the world around us and make decisions based on past experience. We have already made decisions and judgments about the world, and we conduct ourselves accordingly. Consciously, we have an idea of who we are as well. How we see ourselves, as it relates to the world around us, is called the ego. The ego is our core conscious identity. To display our ego, we form a persona. This is our social mask that we use to interface with those around us. Since the ego and persona are at the forefront of our consciousness, we begin to believe that these versions of ourselves are all there is. But our conscious mind is not the only part of our psyche. There is a part that has a major yet unnoticed influence on our perception. This part of our mind is called the unconscious. We may not realize it, but the lens our conscious mind sees the world through has been slowly crafted over time by events that have had an impact on us. These formative experiences are stored in the unconscious. According to Sigmund Freud, the unconscious mind consists of ideas and drives that have become subject to the mechanism of repression. Repression is the involuntary action of pushing distressing experiences out of conscious awareness to protect ourselves from undesired emotions. These thoughts can become what Carl Jung calls habitual complexes. The habitual complexes are tender spots of the psyche which react most quickly to an external stimulus or disturbance. These experiences create deep-seated beliefs about ourselves and the world around us. These beliefs can range from something as small as perfection is more important than progress, to something big like life is inherently undesirable. These unconscious beliefs can surface in our dreams. In this video, I want to focus on the unconscious beliefs we have about ourselves rather than the world around us. While we are awake, the unconscious takes a backseat to our conscious mind, but in sleep, the unconscious is able to take center stage. By examining our unconscious beliefs and actively listening to what the conscious mind is telling us, we can form a more complete idea of who we truly are. The unconscious mind does not communicate in the same way the conscious mind does. Consciously, we can contemplate theories, make logical judgments of value, and make decisions based on empirical data. The unconscious mind is more ancient and thinks more instinctively. It communicates using symbols rather than words. These symbols surface in our dreams and can take many forms. In dreams, we can learn things about ourselves that we may not spend much time thinking about while awake. In our dreams, the characters, setting, actions, colors, animals, and so on can all be symbolic of our beliefs. I had a dream that showed me things about myself that I instinctively knew but hadn't put conscious thought into. The dream showed me where I see myself in the social hierarchy and what one of my driving goals is. In this dream, there were 3 ranks of people ranked by their proximity to God. All wore tracksuits of matching style but different color. The lowest rank wore black, the middle rank wore gold, and the highest rank wore white. The lowest rank had direct contact with the people of this society. The middle rank assumed a supervisory role to the low rank, and the highest rank had direct contact with the god and could, but rarely, pass down orders to the middle rank. In the beginning of the dream, I was part of the lowest rank. We were standing outside a building with the people. I walked into the first room of the building and gathered tools to pass out to everyone. After the task was complete, I was suddenly wearing a golden suit and was promoted to the middle rank. Along with the new authority, I instantly knew things that the lower rank did not. I regrouped with the other middle ranks and moved to the next area of the dream. Here, I found myself in a dark stadium. The seats were mostly filled, and the people in them were categorized by their common interest and personalities. The ones who sat in the front were more normal and fit society well. The people in the back had more fringe personalities. These people were more daring, promiscuous, and nonconformist. I watched a girl move back a few rows, and she instantly became happier. I felt more at home at the back and spent most of my time there. The other middle ranks and I were looking for 3 gold artifacts that had apparently been misplaced and were missing for some time. It was important for us to find them in secret so we didn't scare the people who believed we had possession of them, and more importantly, didn't let the other 2 ranks know that they were missing. After we found them, we progressed to a building with a tall auditorium. The auditorium was the meeting place of the middle rank and hadn't been used in a while. Everything was covered in dust and the lights no longer worked. The only light in the room came from a hole in the roof. I inspected the hole and discovered a huge spear suspended in the air. After climbing through the hole, I saw the spear had a stone wall built around it. This wall was ancient, covered in moss and heavily weathered. As I walked around the wall, a huge body with hair like a lion's mane came into view. This body was the god of this world, frozen in place with the spear in mid-strike. A fence had been built around the god, and the highest rank stood inside with him. It became clear that the ancient wall and the fence were built by the highest rank to conceal the truth. Unbeknownst to everyone else, the god had fallen ill and was unable to govern the world he created. Knowing this, he tried to strike the world and destroy it so it didn't fall into disarray, but died before he could finish. In a panic, the highest rank decided to conceal the truth and lied to everyone so they could maintain the status quo. I was not happy with this and evaded the highest rank so I could share the truth with everyone else. This dream told me 2 things about myself that I knew but rarely thought about. The first is where I see myself in relation to other people. I quickly progressed from the lowest rank to the middle where I felt like I belonged, but did not progress to the highest rank, nor did I even consider it. By nature, I do not like being a follower unless I'm subordinate to someone I respect. I prefer leadership positions, and even when I'm not in one, I try to think how the leader would with the objective in mind. I have always questioned authority, and I like to know why I'm doing something before I do it. This goes hand in hand with the second thing the dream told me about myself. I am a truth seeker who questions everything. Since childhood, I have questioned religious beliefs, human behavior, and how the physical world worked. I noticed that most people blindly followed beliefs without ever asking why they did it or where it came from. This disgusted me, and I vowed to never be like them. These 2 unconscious beliefs have formed the backbone of a lot of my thinking, and rediscovering them has made me feel more in touch with my identity. Recurring dreams can teach us a lot about ourselves. Recurring dreams are an attempt to compensate for a particular defect in the dreamer's life, or it may date from a traumatic moment that has left behind some specific prejudice. Recurring dreams can show you repressed emotional themes that cause psychological disturbance. For example, I often dream of playing music or holding an instrument. In these dreams, I'm usually irritated. In one dream, the slides kept falling out of my trumpet. In another, I was irritated that the composer decrescendoed the brass section during my favorite part of the song. Currently, I don't play any instruments and unfortunately don't have the time to learn one. The easiest interpretation of these dreams is that I simply want to play music. But this being my dream, I know there is an underlying unconscious belief. Music is a very big part of my life, and a lot of the music I listen to represents parts of my identity. Music removes a lot of my insecurities and allows me to express who I am more freely. Without music, I feel like I'm missing a part of myself, and I feel that it is so important for showing others who I am that without it, I will never be understood and accepted by others. This probably isn't actually true, but that is the belief at the root of those dreams. The dreams I've discussed are just two examples of how the unconscious can communicate through dreams, but there are many common motifs that show up. Motifs are symbols, themes, and patterns that have shown up in people's dreams across many cultures and many times. These collective images or mythological motifs have existed in the human mind since the time of archaic man, when our psyche was still close to that of the animals we evolved from. Common examples of these motifs are loss of control, aspects of one's personality, the desire for freedom, sex, fear of heights, etc. These motifs have archetypal manifestations that can vary widely in representation from person to person, while maintaining the same overall theme. The archetypes, according to Jung, are a conscious representation of the motifs. Archetypes are not definite mythological images. They are your personal version of the motifs. For example, the motif of losing control over one's body can be represented by different archetypes while keeping its main structure. One person may dream of losing their teeth, while another may dream of seeds burrowing into their skin and sprouting. Dreams of being nude in public could represent the motif of fear of vulnerability or exposure. These archetypes show up in human dreams regardless of culture or time. They are instinctive trends like the urges of birds to build nests or ants to form colonies. However, the archetypes are not the same as instinct. Instincts are psychological urges that are perceived by the senses. Instincts can manifest in fantasies as symbolic images. This is what Carl Jung calls the archetypes. You will notice that this is the shortest section of the video, despite it sharing the video's title, and that is on purpose. The purpose of this section is simply to introduce motifs and show you how they can manifest as symbols. In truth, you already know these motifs because they have surfaced in your dreams just like they did in your ancestors. I want you to think about how these motifs manifest in your dreams. The symbolism in dreams can't be easily listed and explained. There is no one-size-fits-all guide to dream symbolism. For example, dreams of big birds don't mean that everyone with that dream wants to be able to fly. The meaning of your dream symbols are personal, and thankfully you don't have to seek out esoteric text or consult with a psychologist. You are the best person to interpret them. There are two schools of thought when it comes to dream analysis. Sigmund Freud used free association, and Carl Jung used the motifs. Free association is the process of following what comes to mind, no matter how random or trivial it seems when analyzing a thought. You then follow the path of associated thoughts until you find the underlying belief. Free association can be used to analyze dreams, but it is not the best fit since it leads one far from the contents of the dream and into repressed emotional complexes that can be discovered by other means. Instead, Jung analyzed the dreams directly. In my opinion, the goal of dream analysis is to learn more about yourself. I believe dream analysis is an important part of individuation, the process of finding your true self. Dreams give us a unique insight into the unconscious foundation of our mind and provides us with symbols that can be used to understand how we think. Remember that your ego and persona are only parts of who you are, and to fully know yourself, you need to discover and accept repressed traits. Let's learn to interpret our dreams. For the purpose of dream analysis, assume that everything in the dream is true. When analyzing your own dream, you should take your dream symbols at face value. Whatever the symbol means to you is what it means. Remember that the symbols mean something different to everyone, and the symbols I've discussed in this video could mean something totally different to you. Write down the dreams you remember. Record every minor detail, and especially things that you knew or feelings that you had during the dream. Eventually, you will start to notice patterns and recurring themes. Take note of these archetypes and find the underlying motifs. Before I conclude the video, I want to add a note on nightmares. I used to suffer from extreme nightmares that gave me panic attacks in my sleep. I continued having recurring versions of this dream for years until a therapist told me something that became my greatest weapon against them. Thoughts can't hurt you. It sounds simple and obvious, but every time this dream surfaced, I remembered those words and the dream dissipated. I continued doing this every time I had the dream, and it eventually sputtered out like a loose balloon. Thank you for watching the video. I plan to make more videos about symbolism and similar topics in the future. Comment below some things you've discovered about yourself. I would love to hear it. Until next time.